In early 80s, we had the first arrival of the so-called computers. At the time in Cyprus, very few companies had computers. We also introduced the electronic tickets. Now tickets are paper-based. We were the first airline to introduce this concept in Cyprus. We were the first airlines to introduce online sales in Cyprus. We feel proud in Cyprus that we were pioneers in introducing these changes.
Mariana Trokoudis, commercial manager of British Airways in Cyprus, on how the world's favourite airline has led the way in over 8 decades of operation on the island.
Operations in Cyprus started in April 1932 by the so-called Imperial Airways at the time, when Imperial Airways were actually transporting mail from the UK via Marseille, Brindisi, Limassol, Alexandria and on to India. That was the beginning of aviation in Cyprus, and late in the 40s, BA started operating to Cyprus, followed by BOAC, which was the intercontinental side of British Airways at the time. In 1948, British Airways was actually instrumental in the formation of Cyprus Airways. They provided aircraft, they provided crew, flight crew as well, and that's how Cyprus Airways was actually set up.
Mariana herself joined British Airways at a pivotal time in Cyprus's history.
Aviation was the dream of my life, actually. When I was 10, I wanted to be a stewardess. So on completion of my studies and when I returned to Cyprus, I joined British Airways. That was back in May 1974. On the 14th of July, I was engaged to be married. And on the 15th of July, I was flying to London for a training course. That's when the tragic events of Cyprus happened, and I was stranded actually in the UK for about a month. So I stayed until September, and I was the first one to come back to Cyprus on the first boat from Piraeus to Limassol. Things were slowing down at the time because there were no flights to and from the island. The flights resumed in 1975, early spring 1975, and British Airways was the first airline to come back to the island after the events. When I joined, I thought I would only last for 10 years, but it was amazing how quickly the industry developed.
One major development is British Airways' collaboration with Rolls-Royce to create a more eco-friendly fuel. Results will be announced in March 2009. What are the prospects for green travel?
We are very optimistic that the research will lead to better conditions for the environment. We also have a system online where optionally a passenger, a customer, can pay a nominal fee for the carbon emissions that the individual passenger is responsible when traveling.
Development of winter tourism is top of the agenda for the Cyprus Tourism Organisation. How important is this for the airline?
The British tourists, when they come to Cyprus, they would like to see a lively city. And one of the issues that we are discussing with CTOs is to provide some incentives to the hotel industry in order to remain open during the winter months.
With a busy hub for the company at Larnaca, how much work went into establishing the Paphos route?
It took us about 8 months to convince the head office to have a second destination in Cyprus, which is Paphos. It was hard to convince them because Cyprus is such a small island. We already have a successful operation in Larnaca, and the business case to prove that Paphos would have been equally successful than Larnaca was not an easy task.
So with fuel prices rocketing and with all the doom and gloom about the future of air travel becoming prohibitively expensive, is British Airways concerned?
We had difficulties in the year 2001 after the 9/11 events, and we survived because we had a plan in place with specific timescales, and we got through it in a matter of 2 years. Hopefully this will be another challenge for all of us.